How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
Stephen Fleming has said it. MS Dhoni has also indicated towards it that we got it wrong at the auction. And these remaining 5 games, forget what happens this season. It's also about understanding what is the CSK approach now going forward. What is the future? And I guess we have to start with Dhoni himself. So is Dhoni the man to now say, right, this is my franchise. I am going to build the resurgence plan. Go into the auction, pick a different kind of team. Do you sense that is where we start, or is the future one where we have to first look beyond Dhoni, if not make him redundant as a player first?
Well, I mean, when he put himself available at the big auction, I'm sure he's willing to play at least 2 out of 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So he has to think like that. And like I said many times, he need to captain the side and take a lot more leadership roles in auction itself, because the kind of players they bought in the auction surprised everyone. You just feel that they're hoping that these players fire, because those players were taken out by the other franchise, and you're hoping like Tripathi, not forgetting he's done well, but they were not the first choices. So they need to rethink. I mean, it's a big ask because you don't know who's available next season. So that is a tough task, to be honest, to build a side, especially after one season of that three-year cycle.
Yeah. How do you think Ruturaj would feel about that, Darren? Because he's the captain. If you now, I mean, he only had a few games, and if you suddenly say, oh, is it because it's Dhoni, even he would be okay with it, because Dhoni is coming back as captain?
Well, listen to Wasim there. I was thinking, at what point in time CSK is going to think succession planning? From a leadership point of view, from the point of view of someone who is going to take over the role of MS Dhoni. Is it the day that he retires? Surely it has to be pre-planned. And when you look at this side, say for example, something happens with MS Dhoni, what's the contingency? I don't think there's a player with that sort of reputation, with that sort of experience, that can fill that void if MS Dhoni is not playing. So that is the first issue. The first issue is the succession plan for MS Dhoni as a player, succession plan. If you're thinking about him as a captain, there must be clearly identified persons who are going to take over and carry these responsibilities going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've got news, backroom news, Raunak, that they've called Urvil Patel, the guy who got a couple of hundreds in the Mushtaq Ali. I'm surprised.
One of the fastest hundreds.
Yeah, he was not picked by any franchise. I was actually surprised. Even Ayush Matre was picked ahead of him. So he's been asked for a trial by CSK.
Right.
So you don't know what's cooking there. Because he's a wicket-keeper batsman as well.
And I have no doubt that I can make this educated guess that the players that they release will find out. But the players they retain, your Ayush Matre, Sheikh Rashid, maybe even Urvil Patel if he joins, these are the players you will want to keep because you're allowed that in the rules. Let me throw something out there to you in just a second. Before, I'll just remind viewers of what Fleming said at a pre-match press conference. And we know Stephen Fleming, well, he's been on this couch before, not for an IPL because he's never been free. But that's what the head coach has said. It is hard to say we got it completely right with the performances that we have had. That's speaking at the auction. So we've been looking over that in detail just around our style of play, also looking at how the game is evolving. That's one point of it. I still think we've got a good squad. We're not far away. A couple of key injuries, bit of lack of form, and we struggled really to nail a game plan. We've chopped and changed too much. I think it was trying to look for something that perhaps we felt wasn't there. He said some more things which are quite graceful actually. I think I said it in a grumpy interview a few weeks ago, there we go, that we'll see towards the end of the tournament which team will come through. Great man, Flem. He's admitted he's been grumpy for the first time in 18 years. And it's an intriguing watch to see settled sides and teams with the younger sort of flair battling it out and watching the cream rise. He also took responsibility himself. He said it starts with me at the top. So that's what Fleming's saying. And that is simply put, the takeaways I take is we have to go to the auction with a different plan than we went last time. I want to bring in the Dhoni point in this form, that when Gaikwad was injured, there is no way Dhoni takes over even as interim captain if he still doesn't have that harbour or desire to captain. The simplest thing is if you're moving on from Dhoni, you give it to anybody else. Ashwin's there, Sam Curran has led before. If you find, you know how players are, Darren. If Virat Kohli is done with captaincy, he's done. Now give it to somebody else, I'll be the guiding hand. The fact that MS accepted the interim captain's job tells me he has more life to offer. And I'm with Wasim on this. If Dhoni is playing, he should always captain. That's his greater value, more than keeping, batting, whatever.
Yeah, but to me, is that not high risk for a team? If you're planning for a next season, you're pegging your hopes on a player who is not playing competitive cricket between IPL seasons. Isn't that putting yourself at a disadvantage? One, on the fitness of that player, the availability of that player to play an entire season. You find yourself back to square one, where you'll be searching for a captain, a man who is not part of the entire process of the strategic planning and direction for a season. So I feel you're in that constant cycle of development and not progressing.
So I guess the question that will be asked is, does he still command a place as a player?
Yes.
Yes.
I surely think with the big auction and the fact that he's put himself forward and what we've seen from him as a wicketkeeper and a batter at the back end of the innings, he can command himself on that team. But my biggest question is, should he be considered a captain in that squad when 18 years from the start of him leading the side, we all agree theoretically that in sport it's cyclical.
Right.
You know, leadership has a shelf life. And should CSK be looking at a young captain that they give full confidence in and support? Maybe MS Dhoni as a vice captain and make that decision so that in the event that that captain is not there, it is clear that he will take over. But I feel having a guy like Ruturaj Gaikwad and in the past Ravindra Jadeja in that sort of unsettling situation where it seems that MS still has ambitions of captaincy is not a good situation to be in. I've been in that situation before.
Yeah.
It is very unsettling for you when you know that there's someone behind you who still has ambitions, but it is being shown as though he is not interested in the job.
What was your situation?
Chris Gayle.
There we are.
With the West Indian setup.
Right. Just curious. Yeah. No, but you have maintained for a long, like this is nothing against Gaikwad. Maybe he'll be a good captain for a lot of franchises. But till Dhoni's there, Dhoni should lead. You said this even before the Gaikwad injury, that MS is playing, MS should lead.
Yeah, 100%. And nobody is better than on the park than Dhoni to make decisions. And he's done it multiple times. He won trophies. And especially when a young guy becomes captain, he's very unsure whether, the decision he's taken is right or wrong. Whether the players trust him as much as they did to Dhoni. With Dhoni, it was like an auto mode to the players. They knew what was expected of them. He got the job done, into 2023 with the squad that he had.
Yeah.
But anybody else captains, will always put him under pressure.
Are we making too much of this? Because it could just be Gaikwad coming back and leading when he's fit.
No, and the thing is, we had this conversation when Gaikwad was out. A lot of people were saying now Dhoni's back. And that's going to be a big thing. But CSK, it's turned out captaincy was not the problem. The problem was form of players. So we're talking about changing the captain, but I think it's the team that needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah, so I'm coming to that. But where I'm coming from this, maybe it's a little, we're going around. But the fact is that MS certainly had a huge influence on the auction table over the years and bought certain kind of players. I know Suresh Raina, who's with the Star Network, has said, and he of course is as much of a CSK man than anybody, has said this was not MS's team. So there was no influence or little influence to the auction table. Now, whether Gaikwad as a captain also has an influence at that table as a young captain, my guess is this would still be left to Stephen Fleming, senior sort of coaches who've been around, and whoever was part of that decision-making process got it wrong.
Yeah.
So Ashwin, you can look back at that. Jadeja's retention, you can look back. Those are decisions. Now, next year, who goes with the buck on them, the responsibility on them? Is it Gaikwad, is it Dhoni, or is it just the coach and rebuild?
I think if they're looking at Gaikwad as a captain, then he needs to have a lot more say. And Fleming is there, so I think those two guys. And if Dhoni is, if he puts himself ahead, then I'm sure.
So this is Darren's point.
Yeah.
Gaikwad will say something, but there's also MS.
Yeah.
And then what if you have either contradictory views or challenging views?
Could we draw a parallel?
Please.
Let's look at Mumbai Indians.
Okay.
Mumbai Indians felt that they needed a young captain to take over from Rohit Sharma. They made the call, got Hardik Pandya back in. Do you think now, if Hardik Pandya is not available, they will revert to Rohit Sharma?
No, we know the answer. It's Sky, because Hardik wasn't available for a game.
And I think that is an ideal situation for a team to progress and to move forward in terms of, handing and passing over leadership. The minute you start reverting to your previous position, you're not allowing that team to progress. That's in my humble view. And I think MI has got it right. You're seeing the rewards of it. It will take some time, and it took some time. Last season they suffered. And I think a similar approach is required with CSK.
The only difference there would be you have senior viable captaincy candidates. Surya is a captain, Bumrah is a captain.
Well, you should have thought about that in the auction.
Now let's go to that. Can you go to the auction table and actually get, in a small auction, those players? Because we know the rules
Won't
now.
be available, yeah.
Can you even go and get a top quality keeper batter? Because you said that, I think your point is valid. Even if MS plays another year, you need a strong keeper batter, who could play in that 11 or 12, whether Indian or overseas. Maybe they thought Conway was that player, but it's not worked.
Yeah.
So can you go out and actually build from where the reality of the auction is now, the kind of players that will come in next year?
I think there won't be a force even in the next year because the kind of players will be available. They won't be the first choice players. So for them to become a force next season is highly unlikely, unless obviously.
Poor CSK fans, Wasim, you're adding their miseries for one more year.
No, I mean it's all form based. Sometimes you pick up the best team, but you lose the form. Look at KKR for that matter.
Right.
They're still in the tournament, but the kind of performance they put in last year, it's absolutely other way around. So it all depends on form. I feel SRH is a great example. So form plays a very important role.
Yeah, I'll just have one point on this. First, I'll point out that Ronak is saying CSK got it wrong at the auction. He picked them to win the IPL this year before the season started.
I didn't say win. I said top 4. And I'll tell you why I said top 4.
Okay.
Because I owe them a huge apology for 2018.
No, but
where they were doing the same thing.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, look at what, say, Gujarat Titans are doing, right? Gujarat Titans, I draw the parallel because both teams invested a lot in bowlers. CSK invested almost half the auction purse in their top 5 bowlers. And then they were reliant, in CSK's case, on 2 guys at the top, Ruturaj and Rachin Ravindra, who they hoped would come good. Similarly, GT said, okay, we've got 3 guys at the top. Now, GT's 3 guys have come off. In CSK's case, Rachin's not come off and Ruturaj is injured. Imagine a season for GT where Sai Sudarshan has like a Rachin type season and Gill is injured. Where would GT be, right? So sometimes these things just kind of go your way or don't go your way after the auction.
I would be staggered if Ashwin and Jadeja, if not both, enter the auction next. I'd be staggered if they don't enter it. It's as simple as that. So that's why you have it.
That's a big call. I mean, I would want to get Wasim's reaction on
You
that.
asked me, so now...
but Jadeja, is he in that position where they're actually questioning their 18 crore player?
Yeah, I don't think, he's justifying, the role that he plays with the bat, with the ball also he's got limitations. So for him, I completely agree with Ronak, and Ashwin as well. So both these guys, if you're building your side, are they your main guys? I don't think they are not.